Coming up next, I've got some great research about typing versus talking, and I'm going to share with you what you and one of the greatest storytellers of all time have in common. And we take your calls and your chats, and it starts now. I am coming to you live from our Ramsey Studios in Nashville, and you are joining in on a conversation about who you are, what you were created to do in and through your work, where you can do that work or where you want to do that work, and then how you get there. How do you make the dream job a reality? That's what we're focused on here, because you were created to fill a unique role. So this dream you have is actually not about you, and it's much bigger than you. It's about your contribution to this world that we need. You were created to fill a unique role in your work. You are needed. You must do it. So I want to connect that personal mission and your professional vision. You've got the answers. It's my job to get them out of you. That's why it's a caller-focused show. It is your show. It's about you. The way to engage, 844-747-2577. You're one phone call away. I'm right here, Monday through Friday. Madison is back there waiting for your call. Calls are already coming in. You can call right now. You got me for 2 hours, and I'm doing radio. I'm doing the YouTube show. You just call in. We'll get you. So for those of you that are enjoying the program here on YouTube, know that we also have the podcast of the show, SiriusXM, and Talk Radio as well. So always standing by for you. 844-747-2577. The other way to jump in is the chat room. We try to get to a couple of those a day, depending on how much I'm ranting on that given day. And Joe never knows. Joe, it's like riding a Bronco, isn't it? You never know which way I'm going to buck or kick.
Or which Bronco you're right.
Oh, very good. So you can engage by submitting that chat question right there in the chat window next to the video. And so we'd love to have you engage. Also, while you're watching the show, I don't ask you to do this much, but subscribe to the program. We're growing like crazy. When you subscribe and you hit this thumbs up button right down there below me, that is all an algorithm that I am too dumb to understand, but I know that it works and it helps us on YouTube because they put our videos out there for people who are searching for clarity. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't given us a thumbs up every day that you watch, do that real quick. It takes a nanosecond. And if there's somebody you feel needs this program and this conversation, or maybe needs to call in, hit that share button and share away. 844-747-2577. I love data. I love data that backs up what I believe even more. Ho, 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 ho. And so Harvard Business Review, great article. Amit Kumar, Nicholas Epley get the credit on this article. The headline caught my attention. Research. Type less, talk more. And Joe knows how fired up I get over this issue. With the younger generation, even my wife and her friends, the texting versus talking to each other drives me crazy. Well, what does the research say? Is there a real benefit to this, or am I just a grumpy guy? All right, here we go. They did research, did a study, an experiment. And one was to suggest that people undervalue the positive relational consequences of using your voice versus typing. Here was one of the experiments. I'm going to highlight two. The first is they asked people to think of an old friend that they had not interacted with in a long time, but they would be happy to reconnect with. And then they asked them to imagine how the interactions would make when they're reconnecting with an old friend if they typed a text, if you will, or an email, or they called and spoke to the old friend. And people said, well, I think I might feel more connected to the old friend when talking. But at the same time, I might feel awkward in talking versus typing. Well, so they asked him to connect. And as the respondents or the folks in the study expected, they did feel more connected to the old friend when they talked versus typing. And their fears about the awkwardness being less if they were typing versus talking, that did not happen. So the very fear of the awkwardness didn't exist. Then there was another experiment I want to highlight, a second one. They then asked people to connect with a stranger by asking several meaningful questions like, is there something you've dreamed of doing for a long time? Why haven't you done it? And they were very meaningful questions about the stranger's life, okay? And again, they asked them to engage either by texting, or they added a third component, a live video like a FaceTime or a Zoom, or just talking. And once again, the results bore out that they felt more connected to the stranger and not any more awkward by actually talking rather than typing. So what do we take away from this? Being able to see another person did not make people feel any more connected. The video chat did not make them feel more connected than actually just talking to the person on the phone. A sense of connection then does not seem to come from being able to see the other person, but rather from hearing another person's voice. Joe, as a radio guy, you know that got me all fired up. I think that fires you up.
Sure.
You and I have been in this industry a long time, and the power of the voice is what this experiment is showing us. Our voice, my voice, your voice, is the signal that actually creates understanding and connection. It's not even the face. And I was a little surprised by that part of it, Joe, candidly, because the ability to read someone's face and body language is certainly valuable. But what the study is showing, that side by side with reading a text or an email, or even a handwritten letter, versus a video interaction, versus just on the phone, old school, I don't see you, but I hear you. That it is the tone, the actual voice, that actually creates a better understanding, a better connection. So why do I bring this study up to you? Because I think now more than ever, with the digital world we live in, the social media interactions, all of this stuff is more about projecting versus connecting. And if we really want to connect, put the stinking phone down that you're going to text and go, you know what? Let me just call them. Pick the phone back up. Call them. You know what we need to do? We need less smartphones. We need old-fashioned phones. Remember that, Joe? Nathan and Madison and Trevor, the YouTube genius, none of them remember a day where they actually put their finger in a hole. You remember? And you went, and it just had to roll back. You had to put your finger in another number and roll it. I'm just saying.
Aged yourself.
I know I aged myself. But the point is that we need those kind of phones again, where there needs to be some effort put into connecting, and we're not looking at somebody. We're just sitting there and we're fully engaged. Talk more, type less. That's the challenge. 844-747-2577. 844-747-2577. Let's get the phone calls rolling. We're going to start off in our hometown here. We're in the shadows of Nashville, Tennessee, in gorgeous Franklin, Tennessee, the greatest place to live in all of the United States. And Nashville is just north of us. That's where Monica is. Monica, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am living the dream, Monica. What's going on?
Awesome. I have a question. Mm-hmm. So I'm applying for a job, and I'm using your resume, and I did not finish my college degree. The job does not require a college degree, but I was wondering if I should put some college or if I should just leave it out altogether, considering it's not a requirement.
Yeah. If you're using my template and you are, that's under the what I've learned section. And I think you put the information in there.
Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, first of all, I don't think you're ashamed. You shouldn't be ashamed, because I also am not a college graduate. And I also did about 3.5 years worth.
Okay, same here.
Yeah, you and I are in a very special club, Monica.
Yes.
But
I got about 3 years. So.
Yeah, I'd put what you did in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. Awesome. Hey,
Perfect. Thank you.
So let me know. Will you email us or call Madison back and let us know if you got the job? I think that's a fun update.
I will, because it is with Ramsey Solutions. So that would be phenomenal.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah. So I'll walk upstairs and I will let you know.
Well, that would be fun.
That would be super fun.
You know what, Joe? How many, Monica, stay with me for just a second because it's kind of fun. How many, ballpark, Joe, people have actually joined the team here at Ramsey Solutions and have used my resume template?
Number 5.
Is that 5?
5.
So Monica would be 6, and it's very difficult to get in here.
I know. I'm confident. I'm very confident in myself.
Well, I want you to be.
Resources.
This is great. And so have you had your first interview yet?
No, not yet. I am submitting my application today. So, yeah.
Well, you know that when you use the Ken Coleman Show resume template, that our HR team flags that in a good way, and they go, "Oh, it's one of Ken's people."
I did not know that. That's amazing.
It's absolutely true, folks. It's absolutely true.
Awesome.
So now that's very exciting. Now listen, pressure's on because you got to do it the way I teach it, and you got all the Get Hired guides, which are free at kencoleman.com, so you know what to do. And if you get this gig, you know what we need to do, Joe? If she gets the gig, Monica, you got to come up and see me at staff meeting or somewhere, or just come up to the show, and we do need to have her on. To have her explain the Ramsey hiring experience and what that's like. Yeah. Are you okay with that, Nathan?
All
right. I have to check it by all the powerful people. Nathan, the director's over there making faces at me. I think that would be fun. All right, Monica. Hey, really appreciate you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you land on the team. Now, let me tell you something, folks. If you get hired here, you got something, because our hiring process is prolifically long and very detailed. So this is good stuff. This is really good stuff. All right, Amy is up next in Dallas, Texas. Amy, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi there. I have been an esthetician for 19 years. I've always worked for a physician. I know how to build a business from the ground up. I've been with my current employer for 7 years and have a great clientele. And I'm ready to go a solo because I want a more flexible schedule with my children. And my only holdback is my husband and I, we have, we're about to pay his truck off in February.
Okay.
And then we have just one large debt. It's a loan to my dad. And my question is, should I wait? Because I personally want to wait because I have steady income right now.
Yep.
And I want to throw everything that we have at that loan to get that over with.
Yep.
But my husband is encouraging me to go ahead and go forward with our plan that we had talked about, me going solo. And I'm just not sure. I'm fearful because I don't want to put my family in a financial bind while I'm building my business. And I want to get that loan paid off quick to my dad.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
So wait.
Yeah, because if had you asked me, Ken, can I do it? My answer would have been, yeah, you can if you do it the right way. And the right way would be to not see an interruption in income while you've got that debt.
Yes.
An esthetician needs a certain amount of equipment, and so if you had a bunch of clients lined up and it was just this easy step from one dock to the next dock or from the dock to the boat, it was an easy step, I'd say, yeah, but I think the way you've laid this out, I think it's going to be there for you, anytime you want to start.
Okay. My only holdback is I do have all the equipment that I need, so I would not need anything except for a room to get started. And I have a friend of mine has a room that the price is super, super cheap. I mean, normally we pay $800-900 for a room, and this one is half of that. And so I'm afraid that I'm going to pass up that opportunity, but I don't know if it would be worth the risk.
Well, what did I just tell you? So this is beautiful. You've asked me. So your follow-up question was really what I just addressed, which was I was fine with you and am fine with you starting your business even while you're paying off debt. if again there's little to no interruption in income. So let's say that you got to look at your budget, right? So you look at what you're currently making now, okay, and you go, all right, if I pay $450 a month for that room, because I'm ballparking, that's about what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I pay $450 bucks for the room, that's my only capital outlay. I've already got the equipment. So I've got a cost now of $450 a month. So you run that out over 12 months. You know how to do that. And that's going to be over $5,000 a year. Okay. And so you go, all right, I got a cost of $5,000 to step out. All right. And so then we have to now justify the $5,000 cost up against, will you be able to have a steady dose of clients day one? Or will it be 2 months or 3 months with a little bit of a trickle? You have to run that out. What do you know versus what do you not know? And if it's a trickle for a while or nothing for a couple months, what does that mean for you all financially? If you saved up enough to be able to weather that, then again, I'm still fine with that.
Okay.
So you're looking at that, you're running these things side by side. It's like a model. All right. And so the other thing that you need to be thinking about is, with that cost of $5,000, how much more money would you need to make to offset that? And so if you're working for yourself and you're not being paid by another firm or another business, and you're the esthetician and you're bringing in all the money that's paid, does that offset the $5,000 just by simply working for yourself if you've got enough clients? Am I making sense?
Right.
Have you done that exercise?
Yes.
What do we know?
It's just, well, I feel like it's going to be a trickle effect, because when I leave, I'm certainly going to honor my current employer and not solicit.
Exactly.
So it will take a while for patients that want to follow me to find me, because I won't. I'm not quite sure how she'll respond to me leaving, but I want it to be good. I want to leave on good terms.
Right, which means you are starting from scratch with clients. And so what would that do to your current budget and your income? With the loss of income, because that's what this is. And I wouldn't call it a loss. I'd call it an interruption. Because eventually, eventually you're going to do well. So which is the best plan for you? Can you guys absorb you not bringing in any income?
For a couple of months, yes.
Well, then you have to run the number. You have to take the risk, though, and go. I mean, you have to take a look at the risk, rather, and you have to say, okay, what if it's 3 or 4 months before I get it to where it needs to go? Now you guys are in trouble. Right,
and that is my fear.
Well, it's a legit fear. In this case, fear is not a liar. Fear is warning you.
Right.
So, I just don't think it's worth it right now.
Okay.
Let me tell you when it becomes worth it. Either when you pay off that debt and the amount of money that you've been paying off that debt comes back into your budget, and then you absorb it, so now you've got a little extra room. Or what you do is you decide to maybe slow down on that debt payment for 2 or 3 months, just to be able to take all that money or all the money you can and give yourself a 6-month buffer. I just don't want to see you launch out on your own until you've got 6 months of a floating fund out there. And I don't know that now's the right time to be trying to stock up 6 months when you could be paying off the debt. And I know you're looking at this. I think the one thing that's really making you kind of stew on this and call me is because of this unbelievable offer to get that room for half.
And it's not just that. It's very hard to come by a medical director that's willing to put their medical license on the line for you, and I have found one.
Well, okay, then see, that's another factor. See, I didn't understand that. So so when you weigh all this, does this make the most sense on the long haul? If it does, then you have to consider what needs to happen, because if you don't have the right income, the right amount coming in 2 months, you guys have put yourself in a tight spot.
Right.
That I don't think it's worth it just because this person's sticking their neck out for you or whatever.
Sure. Okay, well, that sounds good.
I would not put I don't think you need to put all your eggs in this basket. I really don't. But what other sacrifices can you make? Can you sell some stuff? Can you cut way back to be able to give yourself another couple of months to buy yourself some time? What if you did the esthetician thing and maybe you took on a part-time job? So you've got a part-time job that you can kind of come in and out on while you're waiting to line up appointments for clients. That's another option we didn't discuss. I want to throw that out there. That could make up the difference. So there is a way, but you need to just dig into it a little bit more. 844-747-2577 is the number. All right, let's go to the chat room. Tara writes in, my employers have asked me to clarify my job title and role at work. How should I proceed? Intentionally. Urgently. Anytime somebody's going, hey, we want you to clarify your job title and role, get after it. Now, again, I don't know what's behind this because this is in a chat. So with the limited information, meaning I have almost zero context on this, all I can respond to is say, do it. And by the way, don't start with a title. I think sometimes that would be an easy way for you to get writer's block because you're trying to manufacture a title instead of going, no, let me focus on my role. I love the idea of the role. I think the role informs the title. So I think you're looking at your day and what an average day looks like. So that's most days. What role are you playing? Are you playing the role of fixer? Are you playing the role of facilitator? Are you playing the role of administrator? Try to come up with a fun word or two, and it could be 3 or 4 different words. Well, I play the role of administrator. I play the role of problem solver. I play the role of helper, whatever. And start with those simple words so that, okay, I got the themes. And then essentially, once you've got those themes, it allows you to look at the tasks that you do during the day and write those out. Well, I'm doing this. I'm scheduling meetings. I'm doing follow-up, doing some organization, doing some detail management, whatever that is. And then you fill that out. And so all of that information, the different roles, then the actual task, that will allow you to craft a title for what you do. Let's see. Ethan writes in, I'm going to be a graduate soon. My degree is in accounting and business administration. What is your advice if COVID kills the job market in 2021? Well, number one, I don't think COVID is going to kill the job market in 2021. Simply put, the worst of this, I don't care what you're hearing on the news, and I'm not an epidemiologist. Please don't send me some email and attack me because I'm not going to read it. Joe is instructed to hit delete the minute this stuff comes in. But I think anybody with half a brain with common sense knows that the worst of this is behind us. It is going to cycle through. Will there be other waves? Who knows? Ripples, waves, whatever you're going to call them, sure. But the United States economy, I believe, has been through the worst of the COVID shutdown stuff. And we're already seeing the unemployment rate is getting better and better. In other words, lower and lower. We're seeing that certainly in a lot of states in the Southeast where we reside. When you've got these, I'll just give you an example, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, their governors have been much more aggressive in opening up the economies and letting the people decide what they want to do and how they want to engage. And you're seeing unemployment drop as a result. So I don't think that COVID is going to kill the job market in 2021. Will it continue to suppress the economy into the first quarter of 2021, maybe the second quarter in certain states? Yes. Certain industries, that's presumable as well. But in accounting and business administration, I don't see that being an area of specialty and focus that is going to be suppressed much longer, if at all. And I think it's all depending on where you go. And by the way, that's why you're seeing the migration out of lockdown states. I just read an article this morning, Joe. Montana's blowing up. People on the West Coast, or as I like to say, the left coast, they're fleeing these draconian lockdown states. They're going, we're going to go to Montana. You know what's funny about that? People are like, oh, Montana's beautiful. And it is. But I read an article today on this where even the realtors there are going, This is all great. It is the big sky, and it's gorgeous, and it's beautiful, and the cost of living's less, and we're all spread out here by nature. Like social distancing is like a way of life there, But I'm interested to know how these people are going to handle our winters, because Montana's gorgeous right now, right? Yeah, a couple more months from now when it's 180 degrees below zero and you freeze the moment you crack the door, it's going to be really interesting to see what that's like for a lot of people who've never experienced that kind of winter. I know this guy would love to be in Montana in the summer. But I digress. The point is a lot of people are fleeing these lockdown economies because they're going, my state's locked down. And I'm not commenting, by the way, on whether that's right or wrong, folks. I'm not going to get into that. But I'm telling you what's really happening. And again, I do think that this election will direct a lot of efforts, but I will also remind everybody, no matter what's being said by either candidate for president, that there's this thing called the Constitution, and then there's this little thing in the Constitution called the 10th Amendment. Go read it. Get reacquainted with it. And the states and the governors are the ones that are going to drive a lot of this stuff. So if you want to go to a state that's open, go for it. 844-747-2577 is the number. 844-747-2577. All right. I want to share another story. We've been doing this each day this week. We're going to continue through this week to highlight very well-known, successful people from different walks of life, but to highlight the same things that you deal with, they have dealt with. And so today I led off the program by saying I want to tell you about what you and your story have in common with one of the greatest storytellers of all time. And that storyteller is Steven Spielberg. Obviously, we all know Indiana Jones, E.T., Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, Jaws. The list goes on and on. If I didn't mention your favorite Spielberg movie, you get the drill. What you may not know about Spielberg is that he suffers, and I don't even like to use the word suffer, but it is a challenge. Now, I have a family member that struggles with it, but he struggles with dyslexia. And back when he was in high school, he didn't really know what dyslexia was and how to deal with it and how to come around it and see the brilliance of those who are dyslexic. But he had poor grades. As a result, he got rejected from the University of Southern California not once, not twice, 3 times. What's fun about it is, Joe, is he eventually was awarded an honorary degree and became a trustee later. Yeah. He didn't cut it back in the day. There's some rejection, folks. How many times have you been told no? All right, you get the drill. Let's keep moving. How about failure? Dropped out of film school that he was eventually readmitted to because he wanted to be a director. He eventually did finish his degree, even though he obviously never needed it. How about fear and doubt? At the age of 16, he watches Lawrence of Arabia in theaters, and he almost quit his dream of being a filmmaker because he was so intimidated by now looking at a movie through the lens of, I'd like to do that. And he was like, I don't know that I could do that. I must be fantasizing out of my mind. I may have lost my mind. How many of you felt like that before? How many of you feel like that right now? The dream is clear, but then when you see other people do it real well, you go, there's no chance I could do this. Steven Spielberg felt that way. But he kept watching. This is my favorite part of the story. He kept watching the film Lawrence of Arabia and started taking notes. So instead of being intimidated by it, he started paying attention to, okay, if I was going to have a chance to pull this off, what do I think I'd have to be able to do? And he began to take notes. And in breaking the film down and beginning to list out what he would need to do, he gets the juice back. Goes from being fearful and doubtful to hopeful and fired up. How about pride? He attempted to break into comedy with the World War II farce, 1941. Well, the film bombed. And he says that he spent the next year feeling sick to his stomach, feeling like a total failure. He runs into a young George Lucas and tells him how he's feeling. And that's when the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark came to him. And that turned into the legendary Indiana Jones series. One of the most successful men in the history of Hollywood, one of the greatest storytellers, greatest directors to ever get behind a camera, had to deal with rejection, failure, fear, doubt, and pride. It wasn't an easy path for Steven Spielberg. Is he a genius? Yes. But did he just show up and declare his genius and everything fell in place for him? No. Be encouraged. What you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you've been through, you're not alone. Here's a great quote to share with you. I love this. He said, sometimes a dream almost whispers. Almost whispers. It never shouts. It's very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your life, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear. Now that's his experience. And I don't know if that's my experience. I think sometimes the dream can be really loud and in your face waving at you if you just have the courage to see it. But I also agree with how he said it. You've got to pay attention. It's that nudge. And I love what he says here. It whispers in your ear. So every day of your lives, you got to be ready to hear what the whisper is. Because what tends to be the loudest in our ears are fear and doubt and pride. Those nasty enemies we talk about almost every day on this program. And I think Spielberg's absolutely right. When those voices are really loud, it's hard to hear, but you can do it. There's a way. You've got this. Do it. What's the whisper? So, last thought on this, because I think what he's saying is so profoundly practical. How do we listen for the whisper? The only way to hear the whisper is to be aware of the noise in our heads and in our hearts of fear and doubt and pride. All three connected, all three different, but they get louder and louder. The longer we let them stay in our heads, the louder they get. And it goes from being a lie to it feels, looks, sounds like truth. And so when we can identify fear, doubt, and pride, because we are clear. The process I teach in stage 1. What do I do best? What work do I love to do? What results of my work really make my heart sing? It's that clarity. And that's the truth. And when we can identify that, we're able to hold the voice of fear, the voice of doubt, the voice of pride up to the light of clarity. And we go, oh, you got me. You almost got me. No. I know the truth. And when we begin to see and feel and act from clarity, we hear the whisper. Clarity quiets the mind and the heart to where we can be present and we can hear the whisper. Did you feel that? Did you see that? I think we want to do that. I think that's possible. I'm not sure anybody else is going to do that. If I don't do that, those are the whispers. And you can only hear them when your brain and your heart are quieted from the fact that you are clear. And when you're clear, you know what you want to do, why you want to do it. You have a general idea how to get there. Those whispers are going to come. And that's where the extra concrete clarity comes. It's not sports broadcasting, Ken. It's a different kind of radio show. And the whispers just keep getting more consistent. And those whispers become more clear and they become louder because we allow ourselves to be able to see what we cannot see when we're clouded by fear and doubt and pride. So there you go. Your story and the story of Steven Spielberg or any other successful man or woman on the planet that you look up to have so much in common. Stop thinking that you're alone on this journey. Stop thinking that you're the only person that's ever experienced this. Stop thinking that what you're dreaming about is a crazy, wild fantasy. Stop it. And begin to dive deep into the process of getting clear. What do I do best? What work do I love to do? What results of that work would make my heart absolutely burst? Get clear. And when you get clear, you can see things that you may never see before. My time is almost up, but before I let you go, I want you to know that you matter and you do have what it takes. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, this is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.